Wild Wild West is coming to TNT.
I beg pardon?
James West.
Rather impressive, isn't he?
Artemis Gordon.
Mr. Gordon, you're such a wit.
And we're kicking it off with all 10 episodes of the ultimate evil villain, Dr. Miguelito Loveless.
I am a genius.
Hosted by Robert Conrad.
It was the only show of its time then and since.
The Wild Wild West Marathon. Next on TNT.
Because we love a good Western as much as you do.
Welcome to TNT's Wild Wild West Marathon. All 10 episodes of the ultimate evil villain, Dr. Miguelito Loveless.
There were more action scenes in that show in the 4 years it was on the air than any show ever. Everything was fresh. We never recycled anything. I split those pants out, probably a couple hundred times. I was seriously injured.
In 1965, when the Wild Wild West hit the airwaves, the West got a lot wilder. The show was original not only in its spies in the Old West concept, but in its rip-roaring action sequences. Unlike most series stars, Robert Conrad was an enthusiastic participant and rarely used a stunt double.
I did 99% of them. There were a few sophisticated stunts, the trampoline stuff that I didn't know how to do, but I choreographed, and along with Whitey Hughes, all the action sequences.
Bravo, Mr. West.
They went on and on. It wasn't a simple two-punch fight with a lot of actors being doubled by, stuntmen, cuts and so on. It was big. It was dramatic, and it was a ballet.
The same group of stuntmen appeared every week on the Wild Wild West, and that was one of the series' trickiest stunts.
The audience never got hip to it. We changed their costumes, their disguises, and we used to hire the actors to fit the stuntmen. That's the truth.
With Conrad as their ringleader, the stuntmen were a tight-knit macho fraternity.
We had a group that we called the Heart of the Lion, and like a kind of men's club, we wore these jackets with the insignia of a lion, and we played touch football, and no one beat our team for 44 weeks in a row. It was esprit de corps. It was as close to being in the Marine Corps without being in the Corps yet.
Double hammer. Right. Back in the position. Kick on!
And they had the battle scars to prove it.
All right.
I had to run up the stairs, second story, jump off the stairs, grab the chandelier, do a kip, get my feet in this position, kick the bad guy through the wall, which subsequently put him out in the street somewhere, and then continue with 4 or 5 other bad guys. Well, I went 15 feet to the concrete. I had a 6-inch lineal fracture of the skull, high temporal concussion, and a broken 5th vertebrae.
Even co-star Ross Martin and guest stars like Michael Dunn, who played the villainous Dr. Miguelito Loveless, were eager to prove their courage.
I'm afraid, Miguelito. I'm afraid to die.
Don't worry, my darling. Everything will be all right. We shall both live forever.
He insisted on doing his own stunts and was injured and was carted off to the hospital. And, in a very strange way, Mike being in that club, the injured club. I mean, it's a pretty pathetic thing to say, but there was a certain status to saying, there's my Purple Heart, babe. And Mike, he joined. So did Ross. Ross broke his arm, his leg, I believe. No one escaped injury.
By 1970, politicians were calling for an end to violence on television, and the Wild Wild West was canceled. Conrad says the show only spoofed violence, but because of all the injuries, it was probably a good time to quit. Still, he has no regrets, and he's proud of his corps of valiant men.
For our time, I say this with some humility, we were the best. I mean, we were tough, and we know it. We didn't have to prove it, and I just want to tell you guys, if any of you are watching, I appreciate it. Thank you.
The Wild Wild West, next on TNT.
TNT.
Perfect. Beautiful.
James West, Artemis Gordon, and all those dastardly dames. The Wild Wild West, Saturday mornings at 10 Eastern on TNT.
In 1965, a new kind of Western hit the airwaves.
But it wasn't a Western.
Okay, then, what was it?
It was a spoof, a spy piece. It was avant-garde, it was high concept, and it was the only show of its time then and since.
The Wild Wild West was different, unique. It was James Bond in the Old West, complete with suave spies, sexy babes, high-tech gadgets, and offbeat villains like Mike as Dr. Miguelito Loveless. It was on the air for just 5 years, but it's become one of those cult favorites whose legend just keeps growing. But the birth of this legend wasn't easy.
It was canceled twice before it ever made the schedule. It had 9 producers prior to making the date. I had changed my wardrobe 3 times, and characters had come in and out of the show. It finally ended up with Ross Martin and myself in the role for, I think, 102 or 104 episodes.
You know, one of the charms about you is that you attract such interesting people.
Cowboy movie star Rory Calhoun had been cast as Secret Service agent James West until a short, cocky young TV actor named Robert Conrad auditioned.
They wanted a bigger look, so they put me on these elevated boots and shoes, which made me extremely comfortable. And then they glued me into my pants, which made me even more uncomfortable because they wanted the matador look. They wanted the Spanish kind of, and a man who moved. So I'm saying, why are these guys making me wear these high heels? And, you know, I said, I can't even sit down with these tight pants on. These sons of bitches should have to be dressed up like this. And then there were a lot of men who were stars who didn't get the role, and I got it. And it was amazing.
As a counterpoint to cool and stoic James West, they cast Ross Martin as the witty, sophisticate Artemis Gordon.
Where else would you expect to find a bottle of properly chilled Chateau Marigny?
Ross Martin was a great actor. And if you look at his disguises and his dialects, because he's in drag and because it's a, quote, campy show, you forget what it takes to make, and he did it. I mean, I'd be doing 5 or 6 stunts, choreographed 5 or 6 stunts, and Ross would be doing 4 or 5 disguises.
Allow me, Monsieur le Docteur Raymond Le Pelletier of the Sorbonne.
Ross did the Johnny Carson show, and John said to Ross Martin, do you do your own stunts? And Ross said, no, I do my own acting. And that was a slight dig at me. But Ross ended up doing a lot of his own stunts, and I ended up doing a lot of acting.
I'll miss him. That little man with the giant rage against the whole universe.
I loved Ross Martin. I loved him. He was a gentle man, intelligent, took the edge off me. I could never get him to watch a Bears game, but he could never get me to the opera either, so, you know, and Ross and I just, it was salt and pepper. It was perfect.
The combination of Conrad and Martin provided the spark for the Wild Wild West. The rest of the formula added the twists that made it such a success.
The ingredients were simple. These are the edict of the producers, Bruce Lansbury and Mike Garrison. All right, Conrad takes his shirt off once in every movie. Ross Martin is in drag once in every movie. And then we have the elephant, and then we have the lead heavy. And that's what the show is about.
This is only make-believe, isn't it?
It was a goofy concept that the American public embraced. It was escapism fare at its best.
TNT's Best of the Wild Wild West Marathon continues on TNT.